Do you find yourself often overthinking about a decision or an incident? Or after speaking to someone, or even before speaking to someone, you find yourself worried about what they're gonna say or think about you? Or do you feel like there's always so much to do on your plate? Your mind is constantly clouded and you're thinking about the next thing, the next thing, the next goal, the next goal, and you're like on this constant hamster wheel. I know how all of these feels, and I've been through this before, and I know it must be so frustrating, especially when there's a million and one things on your plate. You're running your business, you're leading your team, you're doing this, you're doing that, you are planning a family trip, you're doing all these things. It's really hard when there's so much on your mind. But the reality is that the higher you climb, the more responsibilities you're gonna have. And the more skilled you must be in protecting your peace. Coming from a chronic overthinker, I'm gonna teach you how you can protect your peace so you can stop getting drained by things you just don't need to place your energy on. First things first, good influence can be bad for you. Be careful who you let into your circle and the circles that you walk into. Okay, I want you to imagine that you just bought a new home, right? You've been saving up for this and you finally bought your new place. This is like your baby. And you took all the time and the effort to design it in a way that's been in your Pinterest board for so long. You have made this really beautiful Scandinavian aesthetic. And then one day you invite a global world-class interior designer that comes in and they just decide to change everything and it becomes this super cool underwater world house and it looks like it can be on some architectural magazine. But you look at it and you're like, wait, I really wanted the Scandinavian house that I had though. I don't need it to look like this underwater park. That's what I mean by good influence can be bad for you. The last thing you want is for someone to come into your world and change it and make it so different that it's completely not you. Just because someone is a multi-millionaire or they're a LinkedIn top voice influencer doesn't mean that you have to allow them into your world. And it doesn't mean that they're going to be good for you when they step into your world. Be careful because you don't want to enter rooms and spaces that you know have the power to influence you without you setting a clear intention first. So let's go back to the house analogy, right? You bought a new house and you haven't designed it yet, right? You have these ideas of what you want it to be. You have like populated your Pinterest board, but you just haven't decided. The next day you invite all these world-class interior designers and each and every one of them share all their brilliant ideas. You should do this, you should do that, you should do this theme, you should do that theme. After the day ends and they all leave, you're just left with all these great ideas, but they just leave you paralyzed because you just don't know what to do with them and your perfectionist tendency just doesn't allow you to make any decision because you have all these great ideas. So you freeze and you never get your house done because you just can't decide. Once again, good influence can be bad for you. If you don't have a clear idea or even a clear intention before you listen to someone else's advice, you're going to be overwhelmed. You know, when I first entered the personal development world, I was so desperate to learn from other people because I wanted to grow really fast. I didn't want to be left behind. I wanted to compete and be better than others that are my age or just entered the industry. So I was just so determined to win. So I took so many different courses. I signed up for all these different communities. I went on many, many coffee chats with people who are better than me that I consider mentors. And whenever a mentor agrees to have a coffee chat with me, I'll be so happy. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. I was just going on all these things, consuming all these advice that I would just be so completely overwhelmed by ideas. And many times there'll be mentors that tell me, Ray, you should try this email list method. You should do this, you should do that. You should go into this industry because you have talent for it. And it made sense to me logically on how I would earn money and run my business, but deep down I didn't feel like it was right for me. But because I didn't really know what I want and I felt like I was new, I should just listen to someone older, I just took their advice. And it would always end up with me eventually just giving up that thing that I started on, and I'll feel worse about it because I didn't even want to do it in the first place. I was just doing it because I wanted to listen to them or I didn't want to lose out. So if you are an ambitious hustler, you're probably attending lots of courses, networking, using social media to share your thoughts. As you're doing all of this, you want to be curious about what's the energy that you're operating in. Are you attending all of these things because deep down you feel like you're not good enough? Because more learning doesn't necessarily help you. Back in school, remember those awkward teenage years when you enter the school and You don't really have that clear sense of self yet. So you just gravitate towards the cliques that you think look cool. And then maybe you just follow what your friends like. You take up their bad habits. Like for me, when I was in primary school, the most popular kid in class was my best friend, which I was very happy about. She bites her nails, and because I wanted to fit in, I would like bite my nails too, and that's why now I have like very weak nail bits. So that's one example. Like when you don't have a clear sense of identity yet, which might be the case when you enter any new niche or industry. Like for example, for me, when I entered the coaching industry, I didn't know what specific niche I wanted to be in. When you're still figuring out your sense of identity, you want to be sure that you enter the right circles that give you the space to explore and doesn't impose their values on you. You want to ensure that you walk into every room with an intention. Know that whatever that's meant for you will come to you. You don't need to go out there and collect all the advice, collect all the connections, because the people you're meant to talk to, the advice you're meant to take will eventually come to you. Give yourself the permission to just collect these thoughts, go back, and then you can figure it out. That's one way to actually protect your peace, is to delay making decisions and delay taking action, allowing yourself to feel through it first and feel that sense of peace before you make the decision. Especially if you're on social media or you're using social media to build your brand, social media is a world full of different energies and diverse opinions. If you don't know who you are and you want the validation from people, you're gonna walk in and you're gonna get tossed around. So the two most important things is you gotta have a clear sense of self and work on it, and choose the right circles to walk into with intention. And understand this, your thoughts are not always yours. I mean, we think about it from a logical, scientific point of view. The way you see the world is a result of the conditioning that you have had since young. How we think, how we feel, our beliefs about the world, the way we see the world, they're primarily a result of conditioning. We receive these impressions from our childhood, from social media, from our parents, from mentors, from family, all throughout life, and these impressions condition our minds. And sometimes they're so subconscious we don't even realize it. Maybe long time ago when you're studying for hours and you managed to raise your grade from 68 to 80, and you excitedly bring that grade to your parents and you're like, look, dad, mom, I managed to get a better grade. And they looked at you and they go, oh, okay, yeah, but it's good to have 85 instead, that's A. And in that moment, maybe you didn't realize it, but in your head you thought, oh, nothing that I do will be good enough. And maybe that kind of implanted into you, and that is what you feel now. Sometimes your thoughts might come up, I'm not good enough, but those thoughts may have been passed on by your parents or by people that you have grown up around. Now that you're an adult, you might think, you know what, this doesn't bother me anymore. I know I'm good enough. But a lot of times, these conditioning, these thoughts, they actually come through very, very subtly. For example, you might be wanting to start a YouTube channel. As you think about starting a YouTube channel, you think, if I want to start a YouTube channel, I need to have nice visuals. I need to have nice B-rolls. I need to invest in a camera. I need to have an editor. I need to have a whole team. Otherwise, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good enough. There's no point in starting. Pause yourself in that moment and ask yourself, is that true? Do you really need it? Question yourself, why do you think this way? Why do you need to have all the equipment to start a YouTube channel? And maybe you dive deeper, you start thinking, you know what? I will only want to put things out that are perfect, right? I wouldn't want to create a YouTube video that looks subpar. Okay, get curious. What is subpar to you? What is perfect to you? You want to be really curious about your thoughts. You want to ask yourself, are these thoughts mine? Or do they sound like a mentor I know? Like maybe you have a mentor in your life that said, everything you do, you must do perfectly. Otherwise, it's not worth putting out there. And because of that, it created this perfectionist tendency inside of you, and you constantly cannot get started because you're always thinking of the perfect way to do it. And especially when you scroll social media, you want to observe your mind. Sometimes I scroll on social media and I see coaches that do better than me, or I perceive do better than me, and I start thinking nasty things like, oh, they come from money, they have pretty privilege, that's why they're able to attract so many more clients, the reason why they're so successful is because they have a husband that is financially taking care of them and they didn't need to worry about things when they started their business. I start having all these nasty thoughts bringing them down my head, and then I pause and I ask myself, are these my thoughts? Why am I thinking this way? They're not my thoughts, so why am I thinking this way? And I realized that it's because a part of me wants to believe that they had it easy as opposed to achieving it by their skill or hard work. And I want to believe that because that's a valid explanation for why I'm not there yet. Because growing up, I'll have big dreams and my parents would bring me back to reality by saying, okay, you gotta have a backup plan, right? And I can sense that they don't believe in my dream, which is totally normal. but my kid brain concluded that I'm not special, so my big dreams won't come true. Now, here's the crazy thing, right? Research shows that we have approximately 60,000 thoughts per day. And here's what's concerning. 75% of our thoughts are negative and 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. So to protect your peace, you have to consciously pause and then observe your thoughts. Take a step back and ask these questions. Are these my thoughts? How can I reframe this? How can I think instead so that I protect my peace? How can I think differently instead of spiraling through these thoughts? Next, this is super underrated, but you want to track yourself. Track how you feel after you meet someone. Your headspace, your energy, your emotions. Are you feeling more clouded, more pressure, and more need to hustle? Or are you feeling light, feeling creative, feeling empowered? Look, someone can be a hotshot CEO and they're making millions, but if you spend time with them and you feel heavy, you feel pressured, you feel that need to hustle and chase after meeting them, then there's no point meeting them. You're not protecting your peace. When I first started business, I had this one mentor that I would meet pretty often. The problem was whenever I went on coffee sessions with him, I would always leave feeling heavy and feeling like I need to implement on these business strategies and show him that I did it. Otherwise, I'll be a disappointment to him. But there are other mentors that I've had that after meeting them, I actually feel very empowered to make the decision for myself. Like, they gave me great strategies, they gave me great advice, but it's sort of like they are also giving me that permission to choose for myself. Please don't pack your calendar back to back, because then you won't have time to check in with your emotions, to check in with your energy, and to identify if the people that you're meeting has actually helped you or weighed you down. Don't engage in negativity. This is pretty straightforward. Gossiping, talking behind people's back, this disrupts your peace, it clouds your mind even more, and it does not help. And many times we use gossip as a way to distract us from what we really need to work on. Here's the truth. You have fears, you have limiting beliefs, you have doubts in your mind, you're probably going through stuff in your life. Everybody does. The responsible thing to do in order to protect your peace is to observe these thoughts that currently cloud your mind and have a conversation with them. It does not help for you to distract yourself from these thoughts by engaging in gossip, binging Netflix, going on random dates. Peace will only come when you quieten your mind and have a conversation with the fears and the chatter that you've been trying to avoid lingering at the back of your mind. Our mind loves drama, right? Research shows that we have a negativity bias. By gossiping, you're giving yourself that dopamine hit and you are training yourself to need the hit even more. But if you want to protect your peace, you need to do what your body needs, which is to clear your mind. And in order to clear your mind, you have to have a conversation with those thoughts that's lingering in your head. The power of intention. As much as possible, refrain from doing anything out of obligation or fear. If you want to protect your peace, you need to have an intention for every decision, for every action. Before you do anything, ask yourself, why do I actually want to do this? And then get curious. Do you want to do it because you feel like you need to do it in order to feel good enough? Do you want to do it so you can impress others? Or do you want to do this because it genuinely brings you joy? Whenever you do things from a place of lack and fear, you're always going to have an expectation for the outcome. And that's going to create even more cloudedness in your head. The unfortunate reality is that most people set goals for reasons that are rooted in lack and fear, and these reasons often sound logical. They would sound like, I should accept that promotion. It's a stupid thing to reject it. I should invest time and energy into this business partnership because it's good for my career, even though deep down it feels like misaligned in terms of values. But know this, just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to. Intuitive decisions bring us peace. Trying to convince ourselves with logic often brings us into a spiral. Our intention feeds into our energy, which inevitably influences the energy of our work and our relationships. This brings me very nicely to releasing expectation. Having expectations of an outcome disrupts our peace. Having no expectations and surrendering the outcome gives us peace. For years, I've prided myself in being a hustler, working 14 hours a day, chasing my goals, wanting to get the likes, the comments, and wanting to earn more money, constantly chasing goal after goal. This was like my badge of honor. But what happened was that during some months where I didn't get X number of clients or earn X amount of money, I felt ashamed. I couldn't bring myself to show up on social media because I felt like I wasn't a legit entrepreneur. I felt like I needed to just stay in my room and work harder before I had something to show. Life just felt like a constant battle, a constant hamster wheel, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel. What I realized is that I was working hard because I expected validation after I achieved results. I expected to feel good about myself when I hit my goals. So when I did not achieve my results that I want, then I felt like shit. Having expectations for anything will bring you disappointment. Anchor on the right intention on doing anything to grow your speaking skills or to share your message to the world. Then whether you get the round of applause or not, it doesn't matter. Maybe the round of applause is a reflection of your skill set in public speaking. You could then look at the lack of applause as an opportunity for you to reflect and think, how can I be better? But you won't be using the applause as a way to validate how good you are. So it's a very different perspective here. You want to anchor on an intention that's pure, that comes from an internal motivation instead of an external influence. Whatever happens, you're able to be grounded instead of getting your emotions affected by the outcome. And please don't try to fix or change someone. Don't assume that people want to be fixed or want to be changed. Ultimately, everyone is on their own timeline, and that is not up to you. You can do what you can to help the person, but you can't force the change. When you feel the need to do that, you are disrupting your peace and you're putting in so much energy into them. Just focus on helping yourself. Help yourself and be the example for what's possible for someone else. Last but not least, a couple of simple hacks that helps me protect my peace. 2 things. Number 1, I mute all notifications. I only check my messages and my emails every 2 to 3 hours. If it's an emergency, people will call me. If it's not an emergency, it's fine. I can reply in 2 to 3 hours. So this is one way to protect your peace because you're not always thinking about, oh, I need to reply and reply. You're not being disrupted. Like, let's say if you're in your flow of working and you keep seeing notifications, you're constantly being distracted, that's disrupting your peace. But if every 2 to 3 hours you just have 15 minutes to reply, you can place your focus during the 15 minutes to reply all your messages and emails very well. The second thing that I do is that I release the need to always be productive. This is huge because I used to be so obsessed with having a very optimized calendar, and every time someone tells me last minute that they cancel an appointment with me, I get super upset about it because it kind of messes up my productivity. Like, let's say I'm going out the entire day and you tell me you can't make it, then there's this one empty slot in my calendar which I could have met someone else, and I get so obsessed with trying to be really productive that when someone cancels, I feel frustrated. But what I've learned to do to protect my peace is to just accept it, just flow with life. If someone cancels, it's okay. I ask myself, what can I do with that time? It's like free time, right? I have free time, what can I do? It's like I'm gifted this opportunity of time and I'm outside. Can I explore a new cafe to work at? Or, there's this reel that I haven't edited. Let me sit down and do that. Let me, give myself a break and walk in nature. Like, I treat it as free time, free rest time for me to do whatever I want. So I allow myself to not feel the need to be productive, and I flow with life. Well, I hope that everything I shared helps you protect your peace so that you can be fueled by the things that you put your time and energy in, and you cut away energy drainers from your life. Your time is important, your energy is important, and your peace is important. So do what I've shared in this video and protect your peace.